If you're currently doing any form of advertising to users on an iOS device, particularly on apps like Facebook or Instagram, you're going to want to pay attention to this as I break down exactly the upcoming update from iOS 14, which is going to be a pretty big disruption in the advertising world and probably the biggest I've seen in many years. In the new version of iOS, users are going to have the choice to share data, their personal data, and of course, many are going to opt out of this, and that's going to cause a major problem for advertisers. In this video, I'm going to break down this update. I'm going to go over the effects that Facebook advertisers are going to see, and I'm also going to give you a list of things that you can do to start preparing your ad accounts before the update hits. Ready? Let's do it. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about iOS and how the new iOS version affects Facebook. Now Facebook is going to be far more impacted than platforms like Google or Bing, which rely more on search query based targeting. Facebook relies more on audience based targeting, and so that's why we feel it's probably good to start there. Later we might do another video on search engines, but for now we're gonna put this in place for advertisers should they start needing to brace for impact if they're doing a lot of advertising on Facebook. Now, I took a survey this morning and asked people, given the opportunity to choose whether or not to share their personal data in exchange for seeing more personalized ads on the platform, 9 out of 10 of them opted to not share their personal data. So if most people opt out of giving Facebook conversion and behavioral data to Facebook, to what degree is that going to impede on its ability to optimize your campaigns or their campaigns, which might already be running on very thin margins as is? So before we get going, please be sure to like this video and don't forget to subscribe if you can do that below. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down in the comments and I'll be sure to answer those as quickly as I can. All right, we have a lot to cover today, so let's get to it. So let's talk about how we got here. I would say that Apple has really been a leader or a pioneer in privacy protection for its users. It's the first to roll out something like this. We expect Google to do that in a few years or within a few years by the end of 2022. And Apple is very big on making sure that users are in control of their data. That's a good thing. It's not a good thing for advertisers, and advertisers are just heavily reliant on the type of data that is provided to Facebook from activity that happens outside of Facebook or outside the Facebook app. By the way, this change from Apple in iOS not only affects Facebook, but it just affects Facebook to a great degree because the type of because of the way that Facebook's algorithm optimizes for data that's used or taken in from iOS. So what's going to happen is in one of the newer updates, they're expecting it here within a week or two, possibly in iOS 14.5. At the time of recording this video, we're at 14.4. We are going to see, or when you log into Facebook, you're going to see a prompt, and it's going to look like this little prompt on the right, and it says Facebook would like permission to track you across apps and websites owned by other companies. Now, you see below there's some fine print. That's Facebook's little insertion. Yeah, we're going to use this information to provide you with a better ad experience. People are going to read the first 2 lines. Facebook would like permission to track you, and they're going to be like, no thanks, and that's going to be that. And that's what Apple's intended. You are in control of your data. It wreaks havoc on Facebook advertising campaigns. So if you currently advertise on Facebook or on other platforms, you still may want to watch this. But if you advertise on Facebook, you're definitely going to want to watch this video because we're going to get into exactly how this affects you right now. One of the first things it's going to do, and I think it's important to know who the disruption in tracking is going to affect. So it's going to affect sales and leads and traffic that are from users of the Facebook app and other platforms, but on iOS devices who opt out. Okay, so for now, and if Android and Google follow suit later, that's a problem for down the road. But for now, the data is going to be affected for iOS users. I think that's going to be more than half, and for those who opt out, which they're speculating is going to be 80 to 90%. And so that's a large bit of data. And Facebook is doing a lot of things to, I guess, simplify the data. But when you're so reliant on data for both tracking and for targeting, it's going to cause a disruption. We just don't know to what degree. It's likely to impact advertisers who rely on Facebook website retargeting, because retargeting on websites, the website conversion and the website visit after the Facebook click or ad view is external to Facebook, that information is no longer going to be sent back to Facebook for those users that we just mentioned. And so that's going to be highly affected. It's going to impact advertisers who rely on performance-based bidding. So if you rely on any kind of conversion or value-based bidding from data that is coming in to your campaigns in your targeting, that's all done through Facebook's AI. It's all done through Facebook's algorithms, and it's using the information that is provided by iOS and the device to see what's working and what's not working. And so if we don't get that data, it's going to be harder for Facebook to really understand if it's targeting the right people. Facebook is making changes to try and simplify the reporting. We'll talk about that in a second, but when I say simplified, I mean it's being diluted, because we're not going to have such a robust bit of reporting that we are used to having. And then obviously tracking any kind of off-site conversion events or off-app events in a meaningful way is going to be much harder to do for those people that are using iOS. So that's a lot. And we'll continue to unpack this. So I don't think that's going to happen. So a lot of it's going to happen right away in terms of the reporting that you see, but it's the greater effect is going to happen over time. And that's what we feel, because when the data comes back and we're looking at the performance of audience targeting over time, it's going to have a slow dilution. I don't think it's going to be months, but it could be several days or a few weeks before it gets more and more hectic. So the first thing to understand is that a 28-day conversion window or attribution window is essentially giving Facebook credit for things that happen 28 days after the first visit or 7 days after the first view. These things go away. They're actually already gone, and it's being replaced by shorter windows. So 7-day conversion windows and a 1-day view through window. Offsite events like website sales and leads, only if the user opts in. So we're only going to get a fraction of the conversion data back in Facebook from websites that we once got. So, okay. So we're not going to see as much data in the campaigns. That sucks. But how does that also affect the campaigns? Well, this data isn't just the stuff that's reported out in Facebook. It's also information and data that's used in bidding. So Facebook uses third-party data to optimize campaigns and ads. And one of the things that it does is it uses ad delivery strategies that are based on conversions, particularly the ones that are set to highest value and minimum ROAS. And what happens if you mess with any of these metrics is it just throws the algorithm off. So it's essentially serving your ads at a certain rate, and it's serving it at that rate because it knows that you're getting back X amount of return from your ads. And then if all of a sudden you don't get the same level of performance over time, it's going to make an adjustment to your campaigns. It's also how retargeting works. So it's looking at things that happen, like if, let's say, somebody comes to your website, maybe even not from Facebook, maybe it's coming from some other channel. What's happening is the pixel is picking up that visitor, and then it knows next time that visitor is on Facebook to show them an ad. You're not going to have this data anymore. So it doesn't just affect the reporting, it affects the ad delivery. It also affects Facebook's ability to target specific audiences. And we don't know exactly what happens in Facebook's black box of targeting. It's kind of the magic of Facebook. But they're certainly leveraging its performance data and its user data to optimize campaigns so that users or advertisers don't have to sit there trying to figure it out. It does it automatically for you, and it's going to have less data points to mess with. To play with in order to make it successful. So that's kind of the high level view of the issue at hand. Now, we don't know exactly what the total effect is going to be. We know it's going to be significant. I don't think it's going to be like Y2K where we were all scared for no reason and then nothing happened. I think that there's going to be serious, I don't want to say consequences, but serious implications of this change. And so it's just really, really important for advertisers to get ahead of it and try to do as many things as possible. And there are things to do, and Facebook is providing a lot of support. They're not just sitting around letting it happen. They're having to readjust their algorithms. They've changed some of their and gotten rid of some of their attributions, as I just mentioned. And there are things that you can do to set Facebook up to get as much data as possible. And that, coupled with things that you can do outside of Facebook, are going to be are going to really just put you in the best position to succeed when this change happens. So let's get into what these things are. So some workarounds that you can use for Facebook tracking, and inevitably it's going to affect everything else in the ecosystem, is, first off, you can build your own audience. You're still going to be able to upload audiences and send audiences to Facebook. But if you can build your own audience outside of Facebook, that's great. One way to do that is through your email. And there are lots of email clients. We use Klaviyo. We're a Klaviyo partner. And they actually can link up with Facebook through API. I think they have an integration. And you can send your email users over to Facebook, and you can set up audiences around that. So that's one good way to help supplement some of the missing audience data. I don't necessarily, this isn't a big thing for me, but I think by just virtue of everything happening, we're going to have to rely more on traditional funnels, meaning, less retargeting, more, advertise to get people to your site, get them into your email list, retarget them that way. It's not that that replaces what Facebook can do in terms of a full funnel platform, but it does help supplement. So if these are things that you're not currently doing, and also, it looks at what kind of ads you're running. If you're just running bottom of funnel ads, then you might want to focus on top of funnel ads, getting people into your funnel so that you can eventually convert them. But you also need to rely on traditional kinds of ways to get people to convert in the end, and not be so reliant on things like Facebook retargeting to fill those conversions. Switch retargeting types to rely more on in-app and in-platform Facebook events. So you don't have to do only website retargeting, although that's a lot of what we do. You can also do more video. You can post more content, and then you can set up retargeting around those events. So if people, let's say, watch one of your videos more than 25 or 75% or whatever the percentage is, you can retarget those people. You can also retarget people who interact with your posts. and that might be a good way to build a supplemental retargeting list. Now, some of the things that Facebook is doing is it's implementing what's called aggregated event measurement protocols. And this is just a new way for Facebook to help you track better. And right now, what it involves is setting up a new kind of pixel. And I'm providing a link. I'll provide links to some of these instructions and resources down below and at the end of this video. But essentially, you're going to set up a new pixel. You're going to verify your domain using that pixel. And then Facebook is actually going to use the domain to have pixel data. And so that's done in the Events Manager. And I think that that's just a more direct way of Facebook inevitably getting the data that they need. It's just the beginning part of it, but every instruction that we're going to have is going to start with this process. Another thing that you can do once you've verified your domain is you can set up a conversions API. And so what essentially that's going to do, and you can do this for shopping carts like Shopify or eCommerce. In Shopify, you would do that through the Facebook channel. In WooCommerce, I believe there's a plugin that does this, probably the Facebook plugin, and essentially that's going to allow you to create a connection and send conversions that happen on your website back to Facebook. The big question is what is Facebook going to be able to do with just that data? In other words, just that conversion data. Are they going to just be able to report on it only, or are they going to be able to implement that back into the other parts of their algorithm, which help them to serve your ads and target audiences? That's kind of a big question mark. So stay tuned on that. But definitely start working on getting your conversions API. We'll have more documentation on that in our resources. And then one thing you can start doing is, and this is something that is also from Facebook. I found this on the developers page, and that's to set up your ad delivery to optimize for value. And when it optimizes for value, it's essentially trying to optimize to deliver the most value in conversions. I don't necessarily understand how it's going to do that with less data, but my understanding is that you're going to need to have the conversions API, and it's going to need to get that information somehow. So we will continue to monitor that, and as we do more of it, we plan on providing more checklists and tutorials on doing that, and we will be doing this with our clients as well. One last thing that you can do, and this is within the Facebook account, and I think that this, this may not help Facebook, but it may help you outside of Facebook. So when you set up your ad URLs within your ad sets, try to use UTM tags. And if you have a way to utilize those UTM tags on your site, tracking whether in your Google Analytics or any other form of analytics that you could be using through your CRM, that could allow you to understand the benefits of which ads resulted in conversions for you, and that might help supplement some decision-making power that you need in your overall strategy. So those are the workarounds I have for Facebook tracking. In general, some alternate solutions would be to just diversify your ad spend to other platforms. We've been in talks with our clients regarding this update for a while now, and kind of waiting to see what happens. They are already diversifying their ad spend. Most of them are not necessarily reliant on Facebook. Thank goodness. Facebook is a big channel for those advertisers, so it's not that it's nothing to worry about. It certainly is. but they're diversifying into other platforms like Pinterest, Google, Bing to get other sales. And you know, in the end, it's one platform. So if you're in several platforms and it's only part of the users, you know, and you have other ways of getting sales, even organic SEO, direct channels. I mean, this may not be a big thing, but I know a lot of advertisers are out there are just hugely reliant on Facebook, and if you spend a lot of money on it, you know, you just have to, you know, take this seriously. Another thing that we don't do much of, but I heard is just another way to get products out there. This might supplement more smaller advertisers, is to try and set up Facebook and Instagram shops and sell products there. So that's pretty much what I have. I know we're a little long in the tooth on this video. I wanted to certainly get this out while it's timely. Again, I don't know the exact time in which Facebook is going to drop the update, but it's better to be prepared than be unprepared and wondering what the heck happened. So if you have questions, please leave those down in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer those. If I don't know the answer, I'll get someone from my team to answer those questions for you. And of course, if you know any advertisers that are out there, please share this video with them. And don't forget to like our post and like our channel. And as soon as we have something new, we'll certainly get that out to you. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.